Radio Free Radio Show. I am your host, Jeff Taylor. Today I will be talking with David Parnell of the indie alt-country rock folk band Runaway Dorothy. David, hello.
Hey, Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm great, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for being our first guest.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
So, I want to start off just with a bit of background information. You are the front man, lead man, but it looks like there are 5 other members in the band. Is that right? Or is that like a steady lineup, or is it sort of fluctuating?
We run as a 5-piece, and we kind of fluctuate for drummers. It's
okay.
You know how that is with putting people together and keeping drummers, but we have 5. It kind of runs as a New York lineup, and whenever we go on tour outside of the city, we take a different drummer with us. That's kind of how we roll right now.
Oh, okay. That drummer's just not able to go on the road.
Yeah, he has a huge commitment in his own project that he's doing. That he's done touring before. He doesn't really need to do it anymore, so that's kind of his thing.
Oh, okay. There does seem to be something about drummers, the Pearl Jam effect, I guess.
Yeah, I think they know they can get work wherever they are, so they don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Only so many people with kits and a car big enough to haul it around.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and is your brother a member of the band? I saw a video that you guys had up that was with your brother. I didn't know if he's in the band or just sort of a one-off thing.
Yeah, he's definitely in the band. Much to, I think my parents really enjoy the fact that he and I are kind of started playing music together, and then we kind of went our separate ways, and now that we've kind of both ended up in New York, kind of put this band together, and we kind of have the Oasis effect, except we actually get along and like each other.
That always helps.
Yeah.
And is he, what does he play?
He's a guitar player, and we're going to actually throw him on some pedal steel pretty soon. He's been doing most of the steel parts that we do live, he can replicate on the guitar, but for this next record, we're actually going to bring in pedal steel a little more prominent in there, so he'll be splitting double duty with electric guitar and some pedal steel stuff as well.
Okay. Is he your older or your younger brother?
He's younger than I am, yeah.
And it just sort of worked out that way that you both ended up in New York then? It wasn't really
It did. Well, I was living in Charleston, South Carolina for a bit, and was actually playing in a band down there, and things didn't kind of work out. I was kind of coming to the end of my lease with the place I was living, and really had a lot of options of where I could go, and didn't really know how to make up my mind where to go. And he lived in New York for about 3 or 4 years before I moved here, and just called him, and he's like, "Why don't you've always wanted to move to New York. You have no obligations anywhere. What's stopping you? Come up. You can stay with me for free if you need to. We'll just kind of figure it out from there." And that really probably was the biggest catalyst for the band, was my decision to move to New York. That's what kind of got the ball rolling.
And are you the primary songwriter, or is it sort of a collaborative effort?
Mostly, I write all the songs, and then each member of the band kind of has their strong point. I think the songwriting aspect is definitely mine, and then arranging aspects, like my brother is, really amazing at that, and our drummer, who we work with here in the city, he just has an amazing ear for recording and just knowing sonically what things should do. And our bass player, his biggest asset is he just hears vocal harmonies that no one in the world ever would hear, and it's a good and bad thing, because he never sings the same thing twice live, and we always have to pull him back in and say, "Hey, that's not what we've been doing." But he just has a sense of harmony that I don't have, and the rest of the band doesn't quite have. So we each have our very specific role, and I think that no one steps on each other's toes, because we know, hey, wait a minute, that's not really my specialty. I'll put my 2 cents in, but you're kind of the foremost front runner for that. So I'll just stick to writing the heartbreaking songs.
There you go. And speaking of which, do your songs tend to be autobiographical very often, or is it more imaginative? Mix of both.
I used to, and I thought I was actually getting clever at doing this, and say I would try to kind of fool myself into thinking, oh, I'm going to write this song, but I'm going to pretend I'm another character when I do it. But what it ultimately boils down to is, if it's not mostly based in truth and like a story that I've actually lived myself, then it always comes out awful, and I don't like the song. But if it's a story that I can play with a little bit, but it's kind of rooted in personal experiences, that seems to work best for me. And most of the songs on the first record, I'd say actually all of them, except for maybe one, are from my point of view. And then I think there's just only one song that actually made the record, and I was just trying to write it from my brother's perspective of how he would see it. So that was still a personal story, but it wasn't just direct with me.
Right. Do you feel comfortable saying which song that was, or?
Yeah, I even told him it's there's an acoustic track on there called "Say," and it was actually recorded in my parents' living room when I was in between homes. I was moving from Charleston to New York, but I had about a 2-week layover. I was at home for over Thanksgiving and really didn't have much to do, and so I was just sitting down recording a song and really wanted to write a love song about a relationship kind of ending, and really wasn't in a relationship at the time, and really didn't know how to pull from that at that moment. But I knew this relationship was kind of going rocky for my brother at the time, and so I tried to put myself in his perspective of how he would have written the song had he written it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I wanted to play a couple of songs, so I guess this would be a good time to play that song. That works for you.
Sure.
So, okay, we'll go ahead and play Say. This is off of their debut album, The Ark.
That's the way it must
That was Say, and that you did that acoustically by yourself?
Yeah, that was in my parents' front room when they had gone to work and I had too much free time and nothing to do out in the middle of nowhere in North Carolina.
Oh, this was in North Carolina?
Yeah, I recorded that when I was in between New York and Charleston, and my parents were going to work, and I just kind of set up some recording equipment. It was really only supposed to be a demo for me, and never intended to really let anyone hear that one. So it's funny that it actually made the album.
And that album, as I was saying, it's called The Ark. That came out in June 2008, correct?
Yeah.
And I see that you guys are planning on putting together an EP coming up as well, right?
We're in the process of recording that right now. We're doing an EP. We're actually going to do kind of a funny thing. We're going to do a double EP where we release 6 songs, kind of how the band approaches them, very much like the first record, that kind of sound, and then we'll do a flip side of the album where it's more acoustic singer-songwriter and very sparse, just to kind of see. The other side will be more of like how the band comes together and we all put it together, and then the kind of more acoustic side. That's usually how I bring the songs to the band, and how they take shape would be from one side to the next. So I just thought that would be kind of interesting to see how different they become, and still they retain the same song inherently.
Mhm. That's interesting. And you're also an interesting way of going about funding that recording through the site Kickstarter, right?
Yeah.
People can donate to help you guys fund that project. We're hoping everyone. We don't want to break the bank of anyone, and we're just trying to find people to donate $2 to the cause, and with that you get a copy of our first record as well as a new EP. And really it's just so, I was in a band before where we spent all our time and energy focusing on going after major labels and having them fund our projects. And from having Columbia screw the last band I was in over enough, I just decided that if we were going to do it, we should kind of focus on doing it ourselves and keeping it that way, because that way we get to play the music we want to, and we can promote it as hard as we want to, and that way, as long as we're working hard, that's what we're looking for. But the idea of trying to bring a lot of people on board with it really came about because I kind of funded the entire first record, and it's really expensive to do that. And so, imagine
if we could bring people on and inherently they could get 2 albums for the cost of $1 each, and we could, still do our music and be able to promote it. We thought it'd be kind of a cool idea, kind of a collaborative effort that everyone could get behind, as opposed to just us trying to fund it.
Right. Well, it kind of seems like that's. I mean, obviously, the labels are here to stay, but it does seem like it's sort of things are sort of moving in that direction. That things are becoming more publicly funded, or through the internet and listener funded.
And I think especially with the advent of the internet and things, we have fans that we can reach all over the planet. That if we're doing traditional things, we wouldn't normally be standing in front of playing shows, and it's really opened it up for someone who's on the other side of the world to feel like they're helping out a band that's like in New York City and really following their dreams and all that stuff. But that's kind of what's motivated to do this. Is we wanted to kind of build a new community in that way, and maybe even create a new business model of how music gets done. As long as you're doing quality art and quality music, and there are enough people out there, hopefully you can put a community together that will kind of support you and move you forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you get something out of it, and obviously a very good deal for what you're getting.
Yes, definitely, yes.
And what's the best way that, I know if you go to Kickstarter.com, if you type in Runaway Dorothy, it'll bring you to your guys' project page. Is there other ways I guess probably through your site as well?
We're pretty much running everything right now through our Facebook page. It's just facebook.com/Runaway Dorothy. And every couple of days we repost, you know, the easiest way to donate there. We put links up for that. They just take you directly to it. And it's a really quick process to do, and it's the whole idea behind the Kickstarter thing is we set a goal of trying to raise $5,000 to do the second EP, and that's really kind of lowballing it for us. And we have a lot of friends that are helping us with this and getting a lot of friend hookups in studios and with engineering and mixing and all this. And so if someone wants to go to help, they just go to our Facebook page, click on, and then it's as simple as if you were buying something from Amazon. But you don't get charged unless we hit our goal of 5,000. So we have to do our work to promote it and get it out there. And if we don't get it, then you never get charged anything. But what I think we're trying to do is anyone who's willing to help us to even attempt to make this goal of 5,000, even if we fall short, anyone who's willing to give $1, we want to make sure that they get something in return. And so if we made it to $4,999 and we didn't make it over the edge, everyone who donated, we want to let them get a copy of our first album at least, and then, you know, just for free, just for saying, hey, I want to get behind this project and help out. And I think it's a little bit different than some of the bands are doing. So we kind of want to help give you something immediately, just for saying, hey, I really like the idea of what you guys are doing.
Right. Well, it looks like we have a caller. Go ahead and take this. Hello, are you there?
Hi.
Hi. Do you have a question for David?
Yes, I do. Hello, Dave. I was wondering what your favorite song of the album is, and why's your favorite?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I just broke up just a little bit there.
What's your favorite song of the album?
Favorite song on something? On the album, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite song of the album. That's
the album.
I guess my favorite song of the album is Volatile. It's actually, of all the songs I've written, probably my favorite song I've ever written. I don't know, it just resonated with me in such a way that was this level of deep despair for. It's written about someone who was kind of destroying her life and was off doing things that she really shouldn't be doing, and not being in any position to help at all, and just trying to be some kind of moral support it's all that really the song is about. And just the levels of layering that we did studio-wise for that just hopefully created some kind of almost like dreamlike state of conveying, the whole song is about telling someone to just calm down and just go to sleep, and while you're asleep, I'll watch over you, because that's really all I can do. And I'm hoping that, that came across in some way.
That's cool. It's a nice message.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for calling, and actually that's another good segue. Let's go ahead and play that song. This is Volatile.
Don't burn yourself out now, 'cause you may live without. I'm so scared.
volatile. And as you were saying, that's your favorite on the album, and perhaps even that you've ever written.
I think so. Yeah.
And is
I remember.
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. What were you asking?
I was just going to say, how old is that song? How long ago did you write that?
That song is about 3 years now. I just moved to New York and really got into this really, really volatile relationship, without a better use of a word, where I really got here just after Thanksgiving and really gone through this huge roller coaster of the highest of highs and thought I was living in this Woody Allen movie in New York City around Christmas time and everything was vibrant. And then by the time winter hit in February, we had crashed down completely. And I remember just waking up one morning just being completely depressed from it, and my brother getting up and going to work. And I started writing the song before he left, and by the time he'd come home, I'd finished the song, and I demoed all the parts out and kind of just did a little garage band that's recording. And I just remember hearing it and thinking, wow, if some of the other songs I don't really like that I've written or don't think they're that good, I really enjoy listening to this one, even if it had nothing to do with me or any experience I ever had. I really think it kind of even still speaks to me now.
Well, I guess it couldn't be like living in a Woody Allen movie without the breakup part, I guess.
Yeah, gotta have that part.
Yeah. So, as you were saying yourself, writing the heartbreaking songs, there does seem to be more of a melancholy feel to most of the songs, anyways. Do you generally feel more inspired when you're in those moments, or at least inspired to write music, than the happier moments?
I don't know. I read an interview. I really like to read interviews by other songwriters and see where they get their inspiration from. And one I really like, a songwriter I really like that I actually get a lot of flack from my friends and from most people, Rob Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
I like what he does. He's a pop songwriter, but he does what he does really, really well. And someone asked him the same question once, and he said, well, when I'm in really good moods, I want to go out and live, and I want to go enjoy myself, and so I'm not sitting down to write songs. And I almost kind of feel the same way, where I think I'm most drawn to writing when I need to say something that I can't say at other times. And it seems to be mostly when I'm having some issues personally with, relationships or with other people or situations. And so, I have not that many gloriously over the top, just, I feel so alive kind of songs. Whenever I write those, I always feel it feels so forced to me. And I don't know, maybe that's my thing, is to what I'm trying to do now is to still be able to write those heartbreak songs, but kind of sneak them in there so you don't really know that they are, and so you kind of feel rejuvenated listening to it, but the undertone is still that sense of heartbreak, but trying to put a little spin of adding a little hope at the end of it, so at least it's moving you forward in some kind of direction.
Right. Oh, that does seem to be a common theme among songwriters. From I also really enjoy reading and listening to interviews with musicians and just artists in general.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing at one point Ben Gabbard from Death Cab for Cutie saying sort of the same thing, where he said something along the lines of, before he really started writing songs, he always sort of figured that he would end up writing kind of Flaming Lips type songs, and then he ended up writing Elliott Smith type songs, just because he when he's sitting down to write and feeling reflective, those are more the quiet moments. Those are more the feelings that they come out, as opposed to the more.
Yeah. I always wanted to, when I first started writing songs, I wanted to write those glorious songs that feel anthems that motivate people, that, you know, the very much the big choruses and the very Oasis-y sounding things. And I tried for years to write those, and they sound so not my voice at all. And every time I would sit down and just write and see what came out, it was the exact opposite. And I was like, well, this can't be good because, you know, this doesn't sound like Oasis. This doesn't sound like what I hear. And I think it was only at that moment that I was able to let go of that, okay, it needs to sound like this, that it really started to take some development for me. And I've kind of accepted the role of, okay, these are the kinds of songs that I'm writing, at least right now. And you know, who knows how things will evolve with my writing, and hopefully it will to it. So I'm not just a one-dimensional person, but right now I'm just being very, very reflective.
Right. Well, you got to follow what comes. It only makes sense, I think. And when you're listening to music, is you know, what sort of bands do you really like? What I mean, you mentioned a couple, but does it tend to be more sort of the, you know, the type of stuff that you're writing, or I'm sure there's kind of a broad
I guess
spectrum,
I mean, I do like some of the things that I'm writing, but I'm also I guess the kind of the album that kind of sparked this whole writing thing for me. I bought the Jayhawks Hollywood Town Hall when I was a kid, and it really, that's when the kind of the sound kind of resonated with me, and it kind of gave me that kind of alt country-esque and folky songs with good parts and good textures and great vocal harmonies. And it really spoke to me in a point where I was listening to really bad heavy metal and punk rock music, which, I mean, it wasn't really bad. I really, you know, there's still times now I like putting that on and just, you know, walking around New York. It's still fun for me to listen to. But I think I've kind of settled into I'm moving back into my country phase right now, where I'm going backwards and listening to Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash and Tom Petty. It's just they're kind of artists that they had this long careers, and it was never flashy for them, or never really fancy, and they never were like, you know, the biggest for a moment, and then they kind of flickered. They always kind of stayed near the top, but never were so fancy and so flashy that they become almost larger than themselves. And I think they kind of always stuck to the main topic of, like, let's just bring good songs to people and go put good shows on. And if that's kind of our biggest goal, is to continue to hopefully, you know, create a catalog of music that's somewhat, you know, reflective of who we are, and just try to do good shows night after night, and not really try to be anything too fancy, and just kind of be who we are.
Well, it seems, at least from the outside looking in, seems to be a better way to go about it in terms of having a, you know, not just flash in the pan, you know, conquer the world and then whatever happened to, where are they now type of thing, as opposed to, you know, have an actual long-lasting career where you continue to make good music.
Yeah.
You know, all those people you mentioned, you know, if they're still around, still making great music, and in the case of Johnny Cash, was, you know, making great music right to the end. So
yes, definitely.
So definitely good people to be looking up to and patterning yourself off of. So, when you write music, is it do you hear the music first, the lyrics first? Does it depend?
It used to be where I would sit down and just try to strum some chords and see what kind of jumped out from there. But I kept falling into some of the same habits that I would do time and time again. And I read something somewhere where someone was talking about how whenever he's looking for an idea for a new song, he would just go for walks. And so most of the songs that I have now usually come when I'm not even thinking about writing, and I'm just doing some other mindless task, like washing the dishes or basically anything, and then a melody and a lyric will kind of arrive at the same time, as if it were kind of a highway where they were merging together. And it could be anything from a very, very small line, or in the case of Abilene, where I was actually just checking my email, and the entire chorus just kind of came out of nowhere, to the point that the lyrics and the melody were all there, and I had to sit down and figure out how to play it, because I had no idea what chords were going with it, and no idea what key it was in. It really confused me in that aspect of, that was the first time that both of those things hit me so fast that they were done before I could get up from my computer to go to the refrigerator to get a glass of water. And I from that moment, I've tried to go more about that route of letting the melody and some sense of lyric come together at one point, and just let it float around in my brain before I try to sit down and kind of hash it out on the guitar or the piano. And that seems, for me, to work best right now.
Well, I want to wrap it up, because I want to let you, quote unquote, play us out. But thank you very much for joining us. And
thank you so much.
It's a real pleasure talking to you.
Yeah.
And thank you to everyone who tuned in. And I'm going to go ahead and play what is my personal favorite song on the Ark. It takes a lot of love. And David, once again, thank you very much. And
yes, thank you so very much for having me. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Love